What's going on, Legion? Azrael here, like always. And show of hands, who's sick of this trailer already, and who isn't? Let me know in the comments down below. How many of you people that are checking out this trailer? There may be just a dozen people that watch this video that I'm making. There may be 50. There may be 100. There may be more. Who knows? But for anybody that was in the Bethesda Twitch stream at 147,000 or whatever, and whatever it got to, how pissed were you most of that day? Because, damn. I'm going to kind of go over what I've heard the rumor mill being of what this game is going to be. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But this is good. So let's just get to the trailer, and then I'm going to discuss what I've heard. Very short, just about a minute, 20 or 50, I don't know what it is. Alright. I mean,
almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is all there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take
But when the fighting is stopped and the fallout is settled, you must rebuild.
I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads, take me home, country roads.
In Vault 76, our future begins.
oh, Three Dog, what's up? That voice, though. I didn't like Three Dog when I first heard him, but over the years of playing this fucking game, I've been more of a fan of just Three Dog and how you doing, children, things like that. Let's just before I get into it, let's go ahead and do that then, and we'll just keep that here. So we'll just get straight into what I've heard. What I've heard is that this is going to be a survival game like Rust. That's the rumor that's going around. The rumor is that this is going to be a base building survival game like Rust, which kind of makes sense because if Vault 76 is not only one of the first vaults opened, so it's opened before 100 years, I believe, before Fallout 3 takes place. It's also one of the first vaults, or it's one of the of 17, or was it 11? I can't remember the exact number. It's one of the handful, the dozen or a little bit more, of vaults that did not have an experiment going on in them. So if you remember, a lot of the vaults were making people like crazy, people killing each other. Some were anxiety. A lot of them were like tests. And I never looked up why they did that. It was just like the corporation way. But 76 was one of the ones that didn't do that. Oh, I just hit something. It was just kind of a normal vault. What makes me think about these vaults are that any of the humans that we see can be a mixture of many things. In Fallout 3, Vegas, and 4 is that it could be like some of the normal people, the people running a lot of things could be descendants from the normal vaults, or the people in general. Even some Brotherhood of Steel people could have originally came from a few of the normal vault dwellers that were eventually opened up their vaults and left, right? Then a lot of the crazy people, carnivores, cannibals and whatnot, they could have been survivors. They could have been, people from crazy vaults. Who knows how that genetic tree branches out, right? the reason why I think it all kind of makes sense with a Rust style game, survival, like server based game, and it being a prequel is kind of like so you can, when you develop your city or your continent or your state, pretty much, that is like you're playing the people that started, you're like the colonial founding father type people. And then when the Fallout 3 happens, you're like, oh, these are our buildings that were improved upon. Bullshit like that. Like story that doesn't rightly match up. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. The other rumor was that, I forgot, I think the name of it was called Service Based. And an article that came out with I forgot the name of the it's the one that not Kojima, but something along those lines, that these people are always the ones that are like reporting like we have the sneak peeks and all this, we know everything about it. And one of the articles that came out was one of the lingo that was used was called a service game. Now if you don't know, ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, is a service game. And the reason why people hate these games is because there could have been a possibility of an Elder Scrolls 6. There could have been if there was no ESO. When you have a game that is an ESO, when you have like a World of Warcraft kind of game that is an online server-based story bullshit, what happens is to keep that game popular, you can't make the next era. You can't just have the next thing come out. It just doesn't work that way. And the other problem is that for ESO, they have been developing new lore that continues after Skyrim, that people think are infringing upon what could Elder Scrolls 6 be about. In my mind, I personally think that everything that happens in ESO is going to be its own storyline that's not technically canon. And when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, either it's going to be really in the future where the Dwemer steampunk is in full effect, kind of like a if you kind of looked at like say Fable and you just made it more steampunkish, that's kind of what I think 6 is going to be about, possibly. And I think that's just going to suck. I think it's going to be disappointing. Or it could be the same time or time relative to Oblivion or Skyrim. Oblivion and Skyrim take place 100 years apart. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the possibility of 76 being a service game like ESO means that Fallout 5 won't happen for another 3+ years. It's been way longer for Skyrim. And I'm going to very much just talk about Bethesda's games in general, not just Fallout, but the Skyrim part, because they've kind of done the same things. And I think that even though Fallout 4 was a huge disappointment for a lot of people, including myself, I was not the biggest fan. Bethesda being one of my favorite game developers of all time. Skyrim was also equally disappointing, but it had much more redeeming qualities. It is a medieval fantasy. What the fuck? That scared the shit out of me. Alright, well, the dog or somebody knocked something over, but that's, God, that scared anybody you? It fucking scared the shit out of me. It's like, it's kind of later at night. It's not like super late, but people got work and stuff in the morning. It's quiet in my home, and do you hear that? Somebody's breaking in. I'm just gonna shoot me in the face. Anyways, when you have a fantasy game, it's well more. That doesn't make sense. It's way more forgiving. You're like, oh, it's an adventure. It's fantasy. It's knights and swords and magic, and you can kind of just, oh, the story sucked. That's cool. I'm gonna just go and explore and do a bunch of crazy stuff. With all the mods, it introduces a lot of stuff that you may not have. One of the things that I didn't like about Fallout 4 and Skyrim equally is that one of the things they had of course, in Oblivion and Fallout 3 is they kind of had not a full-fledged karma system, but there was like a reputation system in like 3, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I played 3, so I'm going to try to remember certain things. But if I remember correctly, there was a kind of a system that if you did this, that guy would be pissed. And it wasn't like a universal system. What it was is a lot of the storyline or a lot of the quests that you were doing usually had a fork in the road. And you could either do something that would benefit you or benefit the person. And if you benefited you, you kind of got like a negative system. Now, the reason why it's kind of hard to remember this is because the karma system from Fable was a game that I played a lot of the time, even during Fallout 3, and the karma system was a huge system that if you did bad stuff, you looked evil. If you did good stuff, you looked good. And when you walk through towns, people are like, oh my god, it's, this asshole. And 3 didn't have a system that robust, but it had something similar, right? It had something kind of to that point where if you talked to people and you said something negative, you got like a negative, like reputation, almost. If I remember correctly, there was like some form of a, because when you talked and you had barter and stuff like that, there would be like saves, and there would be different saving throws if you were liked. If your talk, your barter or whatever was high enough, you could get through a lot of that stuff. And so there was some form of an RPG system in 3. Vegas, made by a separate company, still published by Bethesda, they went above and beyond, and they had that system in a way. But when you wore certain garb, certain gear, whether it was part of the Legion, the California, who gives a shit, you can kind of sneak into each other's zones, but you couldn't wear opposite. And that gave a huge kind of dynamic feel to the game. Now, what happened with Skyrim that bled over into 4, Skyrim took away all RPG elements. They took away all, like, karma systems. They took away all reputation. So, instead of having different things that would get you, that would have different numbers next to them, if I remember correctly, in, like, the old ones, like Fallout 3 and Oblivion had its own thing as well. It's really hard to remember these systems because it's been like 5-10 years, so apologies. But there was some form of an RPG system when you said different things, it meant different things. And you can get like a negative or a positive from that. What Skyrim did was they decided to take that system out, made the game super casual, easy mode, and they gave you 2 warring factions. And what they did was, if you liked the Stormcloaks, the Imperials hated you. And if you went for the Imperials, the Stormcloaks hated you. It was kind of a way to have a karma system, a reputation system, without any of the mechanics in it. It was literally just a huge fork in the road, instead of a bunch of little ones throughout all different people that could also overlap in the old games, or things like that. They just gave you 2 warring factions, and when you picked one, it made the other hate you. And what Fallout 4 did was they gave you 3 factions, if not more, smaller ones, but 3 main ones: Steel, Synths, and the other group of people. I believe it was 3. Wasn't it? Brotherhood of Steel and the Synths actually was the main 2. Oh, and then the Railroad, right? They were the other ones. So yeah, kind of 3. And they just kind of dumped a bunch of garbage on top of the Skyrim system, except this is a post-apocalyptic, pre-civilization game, not a fantasy whatever. And you need a huge kind of barter and anger and people liking you, people hating you for decisions kind of system in a Fallout game. You just need it. Skyrim or Elder Scrolls can get away with it. Fantasy, everybody's like, ew, magic. But in Fallout, it just means it's a bad game. When you take those systems out, when you take the RPG element out of it, that sucks, and it makes the game boring. So the possibility of this being a online game, like a Fallout Online, Fallout Online foo. If you do something like that, it's just going to stunt any Fallout games coming out in the future, just like it's done with Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. And if it is a Rust type building, I've just got back into Rust. I just started streaming that game again. And if this is like, because this is 76, this is not the next Fallout. This is just this is a branch, so I can't really be mad. if this is going to be a Rust type game. There's a bug flying. If this is going to be like a Rust kind of game, I'm not going to get mad. People are going to get. I don't want another Fallout game right now. After 4 being a colossal waste of my time, I felt I had a lot of fun in the beginning. The game does not hold up though over time, and I rather instead of them going to another Fallout 5, I'd rather get another Elder Scrolls, like they're leapfrogging, right? Instead of just doing a leapfrog, and then 2, and then an Elder Scrolls game, because I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, and if Fallout 4 was good, I wouldn't need another Fallout. I could just play Fallout 4 a bunch of times, like I did 3. But all the DLC did everything for it. New Vegas, all the stuff, the ammo and the mod mechanic for New Vegas for your weapons, awesome. Big fan of that, and I played it a bunch. My friend that doesn't play video games bought a PC, bought it for freaking the PC, and he played it wherever he was living at the time and doing whatever he wanted with it. It was awesome. So the fact that I don't want another Fallout right now, since 4 was kind of a and I like Rust, and I like Ark and all those survival type games like that. If this is a Fallout survival game, I'm actually pretty excited. The only way this could be just horribly, horribly bad, if this can go horribly wrong, is if this is a online ESO type game, and then it's just gonna Bethesda's just gonna lose a lot of credibility as far as when or if they're gonna make something new that I give a shit about. I don't play Doom. Give a fuck about Doom. It's not a bad game. I just don't care. I don't like. There's a reason why I like Elder Scrolls and Fallout. It's because it's a open world game. I don't want a shooter, same mobs over and over again for 7, 8, 10 hours. I don't like those games anymore. I'm old. I grew up with that crap. I don't want it again. And they're being the producer or the distributor or whatever, the publisher, of Rage 2. They're not the creators of Rage. So that's the other thing. So they're having a lot of stuff coming out. Dishonored, don't care, didn't play it, don't ever want to play it. All I want is Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and that's all I care about. And they don't want to be known for just that. Well, fuck them. I don't want them to be known for really. If you want to make other games, that's fine. Don't fuck up the 2 that we like, right? Oblivion, 3 in Vegas, incredible games. 4 in Skyrim took everything that made them fun out and just kind of left us with that. Now, if you're going to make other games and we're going to have just Skyrim for 20 years and Fallout 4, God forbid, for 20 years, at least have the systems in it that make them good games. Don't give us this easy mode that it's 10-year-old friendly. I don't give a shit about some 10-year-old. Make the games how they used to be good, and then create all this other stuff that everybody else cares about. I've been rambling a long time. This was just a lot of my thoughts. This is what I've heard. These are the rumor mills, and those are my thoughts on the rumors. With that, I'm going to get out of here, so thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on whatever I'm doing next. Later, guys.